This week in comic books, DC introduces us to a couple of new characters, but does anybody care? Over in Marvel, Beta Ray Bill is getting all beta. He needs a team. Like, it gets weird. And in the indies, apparently there's this thing that's going on in comic books now where if you can get enough people to believe, or if you believe strong enough, it will magically become reality. And it's weird. And we're going to talk about it right after that intro. Hey, what's going on, you wonderful weirdos? I'm Pocan Joe, and as always, you're pretty cool for swinging by. Appreciate having you here. We're going to talk about some comic books this week, my haul and review, what I thought about them. Let's jump right into DC as quickly as possible, and we're going to talk about the book that everybody's been waiting for, Robin. So this ended quickly. If you don't know, I think he died at the end. Well, we know he didn't because there's more issues, but we get introduced to a new character in here named Flatline. Who is she? My spec on this, and this is my just complete, just off-the-wall guess. I think it's a daughter of another character. I don't know why. I keep getting that feeling. It's weird. If you don't know, Robin's going to this cult of Lazarus thing to go fight in a Mortal Kombat, if you will. Moving on. Action Comics. So this is still good with the whole, and if it's your kind of thing, but this, you will never have a friendship like Superboy and Damian Robin have in this. Like, it is totally ridiculous, the things that they share and talk about and the advice that they give one another. Damian has to remind Superboy that taking his father's place is literally why he exists. Like, it's in the title. Superboy becomes Superman. And it was great dialogue in here and a lot of great Pete's. I enjoyed this. It might be a little mushy, but as you get older, yeah, you get mushy. So I'm getting mushy over this. This was pretty good. All in all, a lot of great action. I love this kind of artwork that's in here, and it's making me super happy that I get to see more of it too. So really cool. Also, I don't know what it is. Like, every few years, like, Kryptonians exist again. Kryptonians are coming back now in this too because Mongol is wanting to take over like everything. I like this version of Mongol too. If you don't know, Mongol's an old character. It was very one-dimensional. In this one, we got a lot going on with him with this whole cult of chains thing he's got going. It's a creepy villain, and I like my villains creepy. Moving on to Detective Comics. So in this one, we get introduced to a character named Mr. Worth. Mr. Worth is old money. Now, this is something that they constantly do in continuity here. He's old money. He's a rich guy. You know, his daughter died, right? And of course, the whole thing gets framed on Batman. Right? He's gonna, because that's what you do, right? He gets blamed for it. So now the cops are looking for him for the death of this young lady. So this guy's kind of, torn up about it, and like he's throwing cash at it. I think we're starting to see how the magistrate got funded. If you remember that from the Future State, we're kind of seeing a lot of that kind of stuff. So how the whole magistrate thing kind of got up, running, and funded, I think we're seeing that now. What's my problem with this book? So it's like this smallest thing, and definitely tell me if you've seen this. Like, every time they have Bruce Wayne going to, a gala, right? Tons of rich people. It's in Gotham. It's like the whole room's full, and we're constantly being introduced to old monies. I go back to the Court of Owls, right? Even back to then. It was a regular thing to constantly see rich people in Gotham. So why is Gotham like a shit city? Like, why is it like, you would think it would be cleaner and nicer and right? Because just taxes alone, right? City and state taxes eat up the majority of your paycheck. So you would think, right? I don't know. Okay, so Batman Superman, as campy as cheesy as this is, it's oddly brilliant is the only way that I can put it. This whole concept, always telling alternate universe and alternate versions, you have to rely on multiverse or other dimensions, and there's always a MacGuffin or a magical woo-woo thing that makes it happen, right? But no drive to why this stuff actually happens. In this one, we actually have a robot, for lack of a better term, who's kind of like a YouTuber? Maybe. He's kind of like an obsessed director who's trying to write the best piece ever. And we're kind of interweaving these two tales of how Batman and Superman met in this particular version. But the problem is that and we'll just for the sake of argument, the real world, Batman and Superman are trying to put this guy down, and they made a kryptonite ring. I've made a kryptonite ring, but they brought back the kryptonite ring thing, which was great. And Batman's trying to shut this whole thing down, and they're trying to tell this other story. I don't want to say it's good, because the ending's really going to make that decision. But it's oddly brilliant, the way, as complicated as my review just was, and incoherent probably, how beautiful it's done in the book with its artwork and its storytelling and its visualization. I think this is a great read. It's not going to be for everybody. It's kind of campy. There's some silly moments in it, but it is what it is. So I picked up this Batman white and black, black and white. I picked this up mostly because the cover, but I don't justify cover buys anymore, right? I read for story, and this is what we naturally expect. There was some odd things that happened in here, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, why? Like, okay, so here's Bruce Wayne and Damian, on their 1980s BMX bikes, because they just watched the movie Rad, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, look it up. It's on one of the streaming channels, basically about a BMXer, right? And this elaborate plan to get these criminals done, and Robin just kind of pops out of nowhere and beats them up. Right? These are all just short take stories, and they do that build a venture thing in here as well. There's one with Harvey Dent, a story with Harvey Dent in it, kind of a rewriting or a reimagination of his origin. I don't think I was really impressed with any. I wasn't. I just wasn't. I wasn't. And I like the Riddler is one of my favorite DC villains, and I was just like, wow, that's kind of. So. Okay, so Beta Ray Bill. This is, I mean, in the intro I made this sound like it was bad, and it's not. In this we get Scourge, we get Pip, the Troll, we get kind of sort of Odin involved in this. So Beta Ray Bill's got to find his own way, right? He can't be this attachment to Thor and everything Thorian, if you will. I don't even know if that's a word. It is now. Hashtag Thorian. So he's got to go find his own way. Can he get another weapon made? And Odin's like, nah, I can't really do that, man. It's not really the thing. It's not how it works. But you can go to hell, or their Viking version of hell, and you can go get Surtur's sword. Well, wouldn't that really just be the same thing as him having Stormbreaker? It's just somebody else's thing that you're just attached to? The main goal for this, believe it or not, isn't to get the weapon to do good, heroic things. It's the most vainest thing you've ever heard. It's because he wants to look like his regular self instead of Horseface here. And this is our hero. They did something really cool, too. And I don't know how many of you... We can play a game. And this, if you picked up this book, in this particular splash page right here where it's the ship, how many things do you see related to... comic books, right? Because like down here there's long boxes, yeah, in a couple of areas you'll see like a writer, you'll see like an artist guy. It's like, take a look at that. It's one of those great things. They used to do it all the time back in the day. Still another Marvel book, Fantastic Four, number 31. So Ben and Richard go into the All Gate, whatever you want to call it, right? The magical gate to take them anywhere in the universe and where they want to. And they get this lockdown on this planet, or this dimension, space and time, I guess, where if you think about something, it becomes reality in it, right? And we're kind of seeing that, Grimm, the thing, still has, a few issues with this whole... I think they're trying to lead up to something because we're constantly being reminded of this. But he has a problem with Mr. Fantastic in this whole I'm still a rock thing, and you haven't fixed me yet. Right? That's a problem. Also, we find out that Reed Richards' son, the oldest one, well, he's a teenager, and he don't like to listen to authority, especially now that all of his powers are gone. He's basically just a regular kid. So now we're going to bring in the superhero therapist, because you need superhero therapists to take care of the non-superhero kid who can change into the worst fears of that character. That way you confront them, right? Like exposure therapy, right? Well, come to find out, he's staring at an image of himself. Right? And that's deep, right? The negative version of yourself. And I thought that was really smart written, but not something you would do on, like, the first visit. Like, Like if you're scared of heights, you're not going to go meet the psychiatrist in a plane about to jump out of it. Like that's baby steps, right? Healing takes baby steps. Okay. Department of Truth. Now this book has been all about, and we're going into indies now, if that wasn't apparent. This kind of always had it. It's actually the premise of the book that there's a group of people out there that are kind of taking the worst type of conspiracy theories out there and making them into some sort of reality, right? That's kind of the premise. And this one, I like the fact that they dealt with the Denver airport. Now, if you've never been to the Denver airport, it is truly probably one of the oddest airports you will ever go to in your life. And all the conspiracy things about it, what they mentioned in here is actually kind of true. Why a lot of the stuff happened, like why did they erect 4 buildings and then dropped 4 of them and buried them underground? It was because they had this great idea for elaborate luggage, and that's actually true. It's why they did it. It turned out it didn't work. But there's a lot of odd things there that can make you scratch and kind of look at it in an odd light. Especially if you've been exposed to conspiracy theories, you would probably even be more kind of weirded out by it. So we deal with that in here. We also get introduced to a character by the name of Cole. Now Cole's an interesting character because as much as the black hat people can make these things into reality, apparently Cole's job is to be able to erase it from reality. And we don't know how he does that yet, but we did get an origin story on him in here as well. And how he what's his relationship with the Department of Truth and how it works. Again, dealing into different realities and belief, right? And this one, I throw this one into the mix because they're not creating a reality through believing in it enough or an occurrence, but the fact of the matter is that our characters here traveled through time, through another dimension. You got time travel going on. You got commies going on. You got infiltration, spy, nuclear blast, and then they throw zombies into it as well. So my spec is that something like that is taking place, where there's a belief that's hard enough that something's coming true. I could be wrong on that, but it would be an easy time because there's a lot going on in this book. Oh no, this was a fun read, and I enjoy this. I'm not a huge fan of this very digital type artwork, but the story is good. It's fun. I like it. I'll read some more of it. All right, so this ends this story arc of Crossover. I got this beautiful weird cover here. This is number 6. So finally, our characters break into the land of the comic book themed people. And I thought this ended pretty abruptly without really explaining like what was the prison, who's passing the letters, but the assumption is volume 2 will be coming out. So we also find out something very interesting in this. We get Ava, the small girl with all the powers, we get her back into the magical light of her reality. See where I'm going with this? To send her back to wherever. Superheroes are fighting all over this thing. We get that drunk superhero. The more he drank, the more powerful he was. That was great. We see Hit Girl in here, Savage Dragon. We get a lot of characters, and a bunch who probably don't remember or never been exposed to, unfortunately. They get hit up in here, too. So we get Ava off to her world. We get an escape, and we find out that a girl that likes to dress up like Jubilee, well, she's actually a cartoon character herself. She's a comic book character. I'm assuming, and this is just an assumption, it has something to do with Invincible. Like, is she the star, the girl from the show? Like, I don't know. This is a confusing book, and if you're not up to speed on everything that goes on in this particular universe, you can easily get lost. However, Chip Zdarsky is going to be picking up volume 2, it looks like. So maybe something kind of interesting will happen in there. Okay, back to if people believe hard enough, you can change reality once in future. That's been kind of the shtick here too. But this one dealt more with knowledge versus belief. So we beat the dragon. We defeated King Arthur, who's the bad guy in this. Merlin, the whole 9 yards, with a freaking dragon, man. Right? And we go off to celebrate New Year's Eve quietly. Government agents giving his report to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, however, has other plans. He wants to be a Winston Churchill. And let's be honest, you can't be Winston Churchill unless you got a war. And he's going to go start a war. So he gets the body cam footage of all this and releases the information to the public. Everybody understands it. Everybody sees it. They know it. Therefore, King Arthur can be revived because there's enough belief, and he does. He like rises up and actually kills the prime minister. Berserker 2. All right, so if you're not into ultra-violent comic books that aren't going to tell you a very long story, right? They're just going to keep everything pretty baseline and just give you where we rely on the art, right, and the actual pictures to tell the story. This is the perfect book for you. By the way, shiny, shiny. It's like the 90s all over again. It's crazy. Okay, anyway. So what happens in this? This is easy review, right? It's his origin story. Caveman times, village under attack by raiding tribes, prays to a god, has belief in a god to create a reality of this perfect warrior kid who's as savage as it becomes. But come to find out there's something else about him. Calling him a hero would be incorrect. There's a hunger in him, a violent hunger, if you will, or a hunger for violence, I think would be the best way to put it. Took out the entire tribes that were bothering them. You kind of go through his trials. It was like a training montage. It was like an 80s training montage. It's the best way to describe it. To where he gets up and kills it, and he's kind of narrating this whole thing to this doctor. For an issue 2, I thought it was a little slow. I was kind of expecting a little bit more information. Didn't get it. We'll see what happens in issue 3 because I'm chasing this down. Good, bad, indifferent, makes me angry. I'll be chasing Berserker down easy enough. So that's my haul, guys. What did you think of it? What did you read? More importantly, what did you think about it? Don't forget, over at Blaster Stash at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the YouTubes. Me, Huey, Spectacular Spider Grandpa. We talk about these books and some other books as well. And we have a live chat where you can come in and chit-chat with us and talk. Again, that's 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday night. That's it. That's all I got. No long outros. Just me looking at you awkwardly.